and looking forward to getting some interaction with the community. Please stop me at any point, raise your hands, comment on things. The fun of doing this, I did this last week at Channel Partner Expo, and I'll be doing a similar presentation in a lot of ways. So it's much more fun for me if you're interactive. There's many of you out there that I know are quite opinionated, so that's a good thing. I actually see, before I even start, I do see a couple hands raised. Maybe that's in response to Rob. So I'm going to actually unmute Siddhant. Siddhant, do you have a question? Okay.
I think that was probably in a response to me,
Yeah.
Adam.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So just because it's been a while since we've talked, I want to just sort of like, just quickly review the key product themes for RhoElements. Of course, the thing that really hooks a lot of you is that it provides portability, true write once, run anywhere capability on all major mobile computers, smartphones, and tablets. Not every framework that provides the ability to write across different OSs is really about true write once. Many of them really are about a lot of code sharing. So that is something that is still a core value that we provide. The key thing, maybe even more important though, is we're letting you use your web skills to build true native apps. And that's quite a different thing for than frameworks that say write all your stuff with C# or even JavaScript. Letting you use HTML5, CSS, JavaScript, or Ruby. Letting you exploit device capabilities. We'll be talking a bunch about that today. New device capabilities. If you look at the RhoElements matrix, it's much, much larger than the capabilities of any other framework, and we're committed to continuing to expand that. Supporting encryption of data on the devices to automatically encrypt. Of course, in any framework you can encrypt. What we do that's somewhat unique is automatically encrypting data on the device, and then also providing for PKI encryption on the device. In addition, we now have a partnership that we'll be linking to soon that provides FIPS level encryption for RhoElements. The other thing is offline data, so automatically syncing two devices. This is something that we've always been focused on, and that none of the other consumer frameworks are providing. So with that, let's talk about what's new in RhoElements 4.1. There's an exciting new capability called for document capture, also known as document processing extensions. We provide printing in this release for Zebra printers, but an API that will support other printers as well. Another exciting capability is cross-platform intents. Android has provided this way of allowing apps to communicate with each other in a very elegant, seamless way called intents, and we are taking that now to providing it on Android through our abstraction layer, but also taking that to other OSs such as Windows Mobile. Providing NFC on Windows Mobile on the MC45. Some GPS API enhancements should be very relevant for people writing logistics apps and apps that are about location services, and then a common API for signature. Those are sort of the big rocks. Lots of other small things as we continue to improve, but so let's. This is all out there today. It's all documented on docs.rhomobile.com, and the release is actually posted out there now. So what are we talking about? Doc capture. It's a very cool capability where you can point your device at a form, perhaps a driver's license, a bill of lading, product packaging information. We have the API for that now that will let you choose a template for this and then capture it. The product itself is still in beta from the document processing extensions team. Looking forward to in the future, so that product itself, the thing that lets you set up the templates for doing document processing is actually a separate product, but the API to sort of use this in your applications is documented today, and you can get a sense of what it looks like. I think it would be a great idea for Rob to schedule another webinar from that team on these, using this same format as that gets closer to release. So printing, this is another example of like, hey, what's really different? What do you mean? What's different about an enterprise framework? There are some third-party add-ons for some of the other popular consumer frameworks for printing, but nobody's providing this out of the box. So what we provide is a generic API for printing from all mobile OSs to all, and that we intend to support with all popular mobile printers. So this would be with Zebra printers. It's Zebra printers today, but we do plan to support Epson in a future release. We also do it natively. We used to use an abstraction API called APD that's actually quite old. You can actually see support for that in the older RhoElements APIs. But that is it is not as good as the native extensions. I'm going to pause for a minute and look at some of the questions that are coming in. Okay, so somebody's pointing out that they've had some problems with getting Windows Phone app up on the Windows Phone store. I think the kitchen sink app, it's unlikely that that would pass the test, but this is the first I've heard of this, so I will we will investigate that. Have not heard any problems with oh, I see 4.1, the 4.1 kitchen sink API on the Windows Phone Store. So we'll investigate that and probably submit something simple to the Windows Phone Store just in case that's a problem. Somebody's asking, is 4.1 released? It is posted to docs.com and the Motorola support portal. Rob, do you want to comment on that?
I'm not sure if it's up on the support portal as of yet, but it's available via Launchpad, so you can get the downloads on Launchpad, and the docs are updated to reflect the capabilities that we're talking about here.
Yeah, so Edge Docs was promoted, correct?
Right.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. And no support for iBeacon today. Somebody had asked about that. That's definitely something, let us know that if that's of interest, sort of chime in, send, feel free to send messages to adam@RhoMobile.com or, on Launchpad, and we definitely want to gauge, interest in that capability. So searching for printers. I want to give you a flavor of the printer API. So it's Rho.printer. The idea is that we do have a Rho.printer interfaces. We also have Rho.zebra printer, or printer zebra, that is. So you can see that we're going to call search printers. We're giving it the connection type as RhoPrinter Zebra, connection type Bluetooth, so it's only going to search for Bluetooth printers. We're saying that the printer type itself, beyond the connection type, is printer type Zebra. Being more specific allows the search to happen faster. So what we're going to do then is give a excuse me, give a callback function. And you can see this is the callback function here. In the callback function, we're checking for what the connection, the callback status is, and then we're taking the appropriate action. We're not doing anything really interesting here. We're just printing the printer ID, but this is where you would do your interesting work. Obviously, you should generally be checking for status, and then if not, doing some kind of intelligent error, not necessarily just logging it. So you're going to do your interesting work here. One of the key things, though, is that you want to get this printer ID, because we're going to use that later. So we're going to search for printers. if you find more than one, you might want to throw up something that lets them choose, but that would be up to you. So that's what we're going to do to find the printer ID. Once we have the printer ID, we're going to call row.printer get printer by ID. You can see we gave it the first ID that we got back earlier. We'd use whatever variable we got back from that callback function. Then we're going to call, with this variable that we have, we're going to call connect and also give it a callback. And in this case, we are going to we're logging the information that we got from the callback. But what you'll see is that we now have on the my printer variable, we have the device name, so we can print out the friendly device name. We also have the device address. So the callbacks will have a status, and then you'll have the appropriate variables available on your variable that you supplied. And obviously you'd want to do something perhaps a little bit more interesting with this. And then what you could, an example of something interesting that you can do is once you have this valid printer that you've connected to, you can do things like print an image from a file. But there's many things that you can do. You can send printer control codes, you can send text. There's quite a robust API of things that you can do with the printer once you get it back. So, any questions on printing before I move on?
Yeah, and just as a side note, we are going to do webinars dedicated to each of these key features. So we'll do a deeper dive and kind of cover the different scenarios, show you more code, and walk through the interfaces in more detail over the next couple of weeks. Next week we'll be doing intents, followed by printing, and then DPX towards the end of the month. Question came in, can we set up page size, etc.? So right now, think about printing as doing anything you can do with a Zebra printer, right? Zebra has a whole set of commands, ZPL, CPL, so we support those. We support those either by sending the raw commands, or you can actually set up files within your application to have a series of commands, right? So these are all kind of documented on Zebra's site. And the functionality that you can execute using the Zebra commands is the same thing you can do using our APIs. Let's see, only Bluetooth supported. So as far as I know, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi is supported for Zebra. What about Wi-Fi printers, AirPrint for iOS? I don't know about AirPrint. Adam, do you know about?
No, it's not supported at this point.
Any other questions regarding printing?
Page size. So yeah, as far as, did you already answer the question about page size?
Page size, yeah, I'd mentioned that.
That is one of the capabilities.
Yeah, we support
there.
whatever
Yeah.
Zebra programming language supports, which you can do that.
Okay, so let's talk about cross-platform intents. Intents are a generic app-to-app communication method. You send intents to other apps. For example, if you send out an intent to map something with a latitude and longitude, an app will respond. It may be the default Android app. It may be another mapping app that you have available. It's a very powerful mechanism. It's much easier than iOS does this with something called URL schemes, where you will register your app to respond to certain URLs, and there's some out-of-the-box schemes for certain actions, but then you can extend that. It's significantly more work, and I don't think it's as elegant as what Android offers. So we've had requests in the past for some method of app-to-app communication. Before we had this, what would you use? Well, you could put files on the file system. Obviously, that won't work on iOS, but on other OSs, you could put a file in the file system and have other apps that look for that while they're running in background. You could put things into the database. That's probably the best way prior to this. But in effect, you're writing your own messaging capability. So what we're doing is we've essentially created a very Android intent-like model, um, and that still communicates with Android intents and works across OSs. One thing I will caution is think about whether you really need a device API or a native extension instead. In other words, if you're finding yourself needing to do this, is this because you have some third-party device or some device capability that's exposed as an intent? In which case, one of the things you can do is ask us to support it. Uh, Definitely listen to what you guys want, and especially if it's something you plan to use in a production app, we're motivated to help get it there. The other thing is that if you're not going to do that, it's probably more elegant if it is this case of it's essentially another device capability. You want to consider using a native extension instead. Think about this as things where you really are truly communicating between different apps as opposed to between an app and some kind of utility or device or something that really is a device capability. So with those caveats aside, sending intents, here's a simple example of it in sending intents. This is the method that you would write in your app. It's a small Ruby method. And you can see that what I'm forming is a hash. I give the action android.intent.action.view. I give an intent type to start activity, and then I give it a URI that happens to be a lat geo colon with a lat long code. So sort of a URI scheme just around mapping. And if you send that from your RhoMobile app, you will have an app respond on your Android device. Likely it will be the stock Android mapping app, and you will see the map come up with that latitude. Happens to be the Google headquarters. So listening for intents, you're going to create a unique URL for that intent. In this case, it's /app/intent/listening for intent callback. There should actually be a slash between the intent and listening. And then you're going to write the callback. So we're writing the callback here, listening for intent callback, and then you're going to do your interesting work there. So two key things: you're going to register your intent to listen, and then you're going to write the interesting work that happens with that intent. Obviously, you can look for existing intents that you know that other things will respond to, or excuse me, be sending out, and then have your app respond to that. Okay, so I'm going to pause a little bit and see if there's questions here. Okay, so please chime in if you have questions about intents. Okay. So if not, what I wanted to do is go ahead and sort of summarize for you guys and hopefully highlight some of the new capabilities that we have along the way. Row elements versus other consumer frameworks. We are the only MVC framework. Just to qualify that. Obviously, if you want to sort of add your own JavaScript MVC to another framework that supports JavaScript, you could do that. We think there's a lot of value to sort of providing it out of the box, pre-integrated. We're the only ORM. Again, potentially you could use some other ORM and integrate it yourself with another framework, but we're providing it out of the box. We're the only synchronization server among the other consumer frameworks, and a lot of our differentiation is about full device capability. So this is things like real-time barcode, signature capture, NFC, RFID, printing, and the list goes on. We also have the broadest device support, only Windows CE, Windows Phone 8. We will be supporting Windows Embedded Handheld 8. We're very committed to making sure that if you have devices that you want to ship on, that we are supporting it. So you know what? I'm going to, since I have another question, Mark, I'm not sure what you mean by compatibility for 4.1. What are you referring to there?
I think he was talking about the Matrix. So I had responded saying that it was updated as well. So
Okay.
on the
Okay.
documentation side.
All right. Okay, so differentiators versus enterprise mobile platforms, things like Sybase and Antenna. Um, we are providing true write once, run many. This means not code sharing or the ability to write in C Sharp, the ability to write in Java, not just doing that, but actually giving you a common API abstraction, which is much harder work to do. Much faster and more scalable synchronization solution. The only use of web skills among the enterprise platforms, not saying against consumer platforms, but certainly the only use of allowing you to write native apps, using your knowledge of HTML among those other enterprise platforms. And the other key thing for those of you that are on the call, I've noticed a lot of partner names out here. We are very partner centric. We never do app work ourselves. We drive a lot of work to partners. We're very committed to your success. And then the other thing is we're very committed to taking the base roads framework and keeping it open source, which I think is a great protection for you guys that your investment in the framework will continue to be maintained. So with that said, I just wanted to mention, give a sort of a plug for Rob's continuing webinars. We're going to have another webinar next week on Intents, another one on the 16th on printing, and then 3 weeks from now on DPX. So with that, maybe we'll open the floor to questions. And do you have any other things that you wanted to discuss, Rob?
Yeah, no, I think that was a good summary, Adam. We'll wait for some questions, and like I said, in these upcoming webinars, we're going to go through the APIs in further detail and kind of show you the different scenarios. Adam covered kind of an overview of them, so I think you'll find the upcoming webinars pretty interesting in terms of getting your hands on, and hopefully by then you'll actually have been able to download the code and start playing with it to have some further questions on them. So, all right, looks like we have a couple of questions in, Adam. Let's see, which of these new features will require row elements or will they work only with rows? Okay, so licensing. So in terms of these new APIs.
Printing is a row elements feature. DPX is a row elements feature, and I believe Intents is roads.
Yeah,
At least
that's
that's the
correct.
intent.
And some of the other
Important notes
features you
on my.
mentioned, I'm sorry, Adam.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was
I
going to
was
say,
just going to say.
in your first slide, you had some other features like geolocation. We've updated the geolocation API, so that was in roads. And
Yes.
yeah, so that's my understanding too. Intents
Yes.
is openly available. The other ones are row elements.
Right. There's a question about important notes on migration from 4.0 to 4.1. 4.1 is intentionally a very sort of focused release. It's not intended to. Um, it's certainly not intended to break any code. 4.0 was obviously a major shift in APIs, but in 4.1, we don't anticipate seeing you have any significant effort to moving your apps from 4.0 to 4.1, unless you want to take advantage of some of these specific features. Any 2.2 APIs upgraded to 4.x and 4.1? Yeah, the big one is signature capture. Are you aware of others, Rob? I think it's signature capture is the big one.
Yeah, signature capture is the one that has been migrated.
Again, we wanted to keep it a small, focused release. We will be, doing other 4.0 APIs later, and we'll have more details as we go along. Will the presentation be available in PDF form? I was just going to post it as PowerPoint. If you prefer PDF, we can do that. But I will get that posted on Launchpad. But we'll also have the recording as well. Debug an application on the device. That's a rather large rock, definitely beyond the scope of this release. But that's Glad to hear the continued feedback, but that is something that we do want to do. It's a non-trivial effort.
Well, we did make some progress, Adam. We do have some new capabilities for debugging on a device. If you look at the debugging guides for Ruby and JavaScript, Ruby is where we made the change. So there's new ways to actually do some debugging on the device. You can do some breakpoints and all. You need to obviously, and this is just on Android, I believe, and you need to have it connected with USB and have USB debugging enabled. All the details are in the documentation. As far as JavaScript device debugging, we still continue to suggest that you use Winery as a tool for JavaScript debugging. So if you haven't seen my webinar on that, definitely check it out. I usually use it. It's my go-to tool for even just learning the APIs. Forget about debugging. It's a fantastic way just to explore the APIs and get familiar with what comes back in terms of callback objects, etc. So that would be my recommendation for JavaScript.
So there's another question about camera. Camera is not the new camera APIs have not been released. The 4.0 camera, the 4.x camera APIs have not been released in this release. There's a question about Android push notification. If you mean our, RhoConnect push, that is certainly something that we do support. We do a lot of testing on it, so I would encourage you to try it. As far as like if there were earlier issues, I know that it is something that is widely used. The name of the JavaScript debugger, Rob was referring to Winery, but that's actually been something that you could use with RhoMobile and RhoElements for quite some time. So, Rob, do you want to post a link?
Yeah, I actually posted the name in the question area, and I'll send out the link as well.
Okay.
There was another question. I don't know if you saw it, Adam, but any changes on RhoHub and RhoGallery that we want to talk about?
There are, but you know what we should probably do is get Landon in for a briefing, maybe sometime, maybe the April 30th. There
Yeah,
have been significant enhancements to RhoGallery, lots of new things in RhoGallery to look at. And I'd be not doing it justice to try to give you the sound bite around it, but we are very committed to RhoGallery and we're making significant enhancements to it. So definitely, it's good to have this come up. It's in my opinion, it's definitely worth having a webinar on. As far as RhoHub supporting builds, we are doing the work now to get RhoHub supporting modern RhoElements builds, and that will give us iOS and Windows Phone 8. So yes, we will be supporting that, and we'll send out more updates about that later. Okay, so it looks like questions are tailing off.
So this last one about the JavaScript, any significant bug fixes for 4.1, specifically around JavaScript models. So we do have some changes in the ORM for this release.
Yes.
However, they are beta. So in the release notes, you'll see some instructions on how to enable this new ORM capabilities, which is where we're putting all of our fixes and enhancements to ORM, especially around JavaScript.
Yeah, and
So we
it's
can
more
test
than
that
just
out.
a fix. It's actually a significantly changed API. So don't, it's not just bug fixes. It's a significantly changed JavaScript ORM API.
Yeah, much more robust and can handle a lot more things going forward. So definitely check it out. We're looking for some feedback on it, and I think we'll see that in the next release, Adam. The completion of that, or
Yes,
okay,
absolutely. It's a big priority. But please take a look at what's there and send us your feedback. And it may even be worth, now that we're discussing it, that's probably worth having a webinar on, Rob,
yeah,
just to make
we
sure we stay on the weekly webinars. You've got, I think, RhoGallery maybe towards the end of April, and then in early May, maybe having Max come in and talk about the JavaScript ORM.
Yeah, absolutely. So this comment about signature capture and Sencha Touch, jQuery, there's a lot of different ways you can do signature capture. Our method provides a different approach to signature capture. So I think you need to consider what you're looking to get out of it and the capabilities it has. If you're using Sencha or jQuery, you may want to use those plugins, or you may want to use ours. So it's kind of a choice. It's not a this works with jQuery or this works with Sencha Touch. There's totally separate.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to interpret that. Like, is that like, taking it outside of the framework entirely is not something that, um, I think is realistic. Might be possible, but if you're using, we do have people that use RhoElements with Sencha just for styling, but not writing a full-fledged Sencha app. And in that case, you should be able to use it, but it's not really in the context of a Sencha app per se. It's in the context of a RhoElements app where you might be using Sencha as your, Sencha in your JavaScript. Does that make sense, Rob?
Yeah.
We've seen both scenarios. We have people that say write the whole app in Sencha. I don't think you're going to be able to just selectively use interesting device capabilities, but we've also had people use RhoElements for the full set of device capabilities and then use Sencha essentially as an alternative to the jQuery that we have out of the box.
Right.
In that case, it would work.
So the question came in before, I think we missed it, so they posted it again. Any plan to support iOS Passbook, or is it already supported? I'm not aware of any special APIs for this. This would need to be an extension.
No, that would, yes, it would be. Yes. And it's not something that's already supported. There was a question about that earlier.
Yeah.
And then will DPX require some standards for capturing documents like driving? DPX is, again, it's worth its own webinar. But the idea is that you set up you set up a template for that document. There's sort of a template authoring system. So no, you don't need a standard. But you do need the work to sort of lay out the template for what you're going to be capturing.
Yeah, it's really nice. I mean, essentially, just to give you a really overview of the flow, you scan in your label or whatever document you're trying to capture, and you upload it to this template builder online, and you log in, and you essentially define the regions that you want to capture in your application. And the regions could be a barcode, it could be OCR, it could be checkboxes, it could be just an image. And you can define as many regions as you'd like. And then when you go in your application to scan that document, it essentially takes a picture of the document and then tries to process all the regions, and you get a well-structured set of data back. So it's really nice. It's just one scan, and you get this huge set of data that you can then do whatever you want with in your application. So it's really cool. Like Adam said, definitely plan on spending. We'll probably do 2 sessions on that. We'll probably talk. Once DPX is released, we'll go into the release. But from an API point of view, we'll cover how to interact with DPX. So stay tuned for that one. So could it be used to evaluate OCR answer scripts, for example? So yeah, OCR, you basically define the region that you want to capture, and you say this is an OCR region, and then in your application, you essentially get back the OCR data, and you also get back a kind of a percentage on a confidence level on how well it thinks it translated the text.
Right.
All right, looks like we answered that question. All right, great. Any other questions? Thanks for all the questions. This has been fantastic participation, guys.
Yes, very interactive, very enjoyable.
Okay, we'll give it another second here. The links to register for these upcoming webinars are on Launchpad, so if you haven't seen it, I posted a blog posting on there under RhoMobile. You can check it out and register now. I'll send out reminders as we get closer. They'll also be posted on Twitter, etc. So hope to see you next week as we talk about Intense, and I think that wraps it up.
Okay,
Adam?
thanks, Rob.
Oh, last question coming. I know there's always one after we say it's time to wrap up. Any plan for fingerprint scanning capabilities?
It's interestingly enough, I just got a request for that, and there of course there are Motorola devices that support that. So the answer is yes. But literally last week was the first time I got a request for it, but it's definitely fits within our theme of rich device capabilities. So yes, we will be supporting it. Ideally soon. We'll sort of see how big it is and whether it can get into the 4.2 release.
All
Okay,
right. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining. We will see you next time. Thanks, Adam.
great. Thank you. Bye.